And thank you so much for being here at 6 a.m. everyone. I'm Eric Connert.
And I'm Netta Irampour. And this just coming into our newsroom here. Inflation eased for the 8th straight month in February. The Labor Department just releasing its latest report.
Yeah, it found that the consumer prices increased 6% from a year earlier. That is down from 6.4% in January. On a monthly basis, though, prices advanced 0.4%, following a 0.5% increase in January.
And also, this just into our newsroom. Today, President Biden will announce a new executive order to increase background checks. That's for gun sales. The White House says this order will also, quote, increase the effective use of red flag laws and strengthen efforts to hold the gun industry accountable. The president set to make this announcement at Monterey Park in the LA area. That was, of course, the site of a mass shooting back in January. This comes after his visit here to San Diego, where the president was joined by the prime ministers of Australia and the UK. You see them all there. They announced a deal on nuclear-powered submarines. Also new here this morning, students and parents of Reynolds Elementary School in Oceanside, they're getting ready for a big change.
Last night, Oceanside Unified School District trustees voted to close the school down at the end of the school year. CBS 8's Dana Marie McNichol live at Oceanside now to explain what led up to this decision. Dana Marie?
Good morning, Erica. Netta. Well, a test shows that soil underneath this campus could liquefy and then become unstable in an earthquake. With that being said, some of the parents are still frustrated about the decision to close this school. Now, there was a meeting held yesterday, and some parents did live stream it on Facebook, so we want to show you a clip from that.
It was a 3-1 vote. It was a 3-1 vote to go ahead and close Reynolds at this point. Effective June 2023. You guys are fired!
And you could hear parents angry about that decision. The stream was posted by Allison Mayneu and the Parents Association of Oceanside, expressing their frustration, saying it's just too soon. According to the Union Tribune, more than 200 people attended the meeting, many carrying signs outside saying, "Save our school." Some parents saying there was just too little time for them to find a similar program for their child next year. Others say students are more likely to be harmed by the emotional upset of the move than an earthquake. Mandatory soil testing is required for all new construction projects. It showed that the site was not suitable for the proposed modernization. Studies show the buildings are relatively safe and likely only to sink 8 or 6 inches into the ground in an earthquake and not break apart. According to the Union Tribune, the report determined that buildings are structurally safe and there are certain things that can be implemented to limit safety risks in the short term, but it would cost way too much money and wouldn't fix the problem. Construction on a new school is expected to take 5 years and cost about $49 million, up from an earlier estimate of $25 million based on the 2017 costs. So again, in the end, the vote was 3-1 to close Reynolds Elementary School. Now, the Board of Education does have a regular scheduled meeting, and parents on Facebook did say that they're going to attend that tonight at 6 p.m. at Chavez Elementary School, middle school, here in Oceanside. So again, I'm sure this topic will be brought up as many parents frustrated about the closure of this elementary school. I'm Dana Marie McNichol, coming to you live from Oceanside.
Dana Marie, thank you. A former Teacher of the Year in National City who is accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a 13-year-old former student is pleading not guilty. This morning, we're hearing new details that were revealed in court.
This defendant was obsessive. When she was arrested, she had a photograph of the victim in her wallet. She had jewelry with his initials. Love letters were discovered in her classroom directed at the child.
The district attorney says Jacqueline Moss sent illicit photos of herself and directed the alleged victim to do the same. Prosecutors say the relationship started in December of last year and lasted up until her arrest last week, after the boy's mom came forward with her suspicions. She will be back in court on Thursday. This morning, the Mexican consulate in San Diego says 7 of 8 people killed in a boat smuggling attempt were Mexican citizens. This happened near Black's Beach over the weekend. It is being called one of the deadliest maritime smuggling incidents California has ever seen. The Mexican consulate is working with authorities to identify the victims.
And now this morning, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors set to consider developing an app that would connect homeless people with a safe place to sleep, a bed. District Attorney Summer Stephan will propose this outreach plan to the board at 8 a.m. CBS 8's Chris Groh joining us live outside the County Administration Building with these details, how much this could cost and how it's going to work, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, Netta, and this is being described as a potential game changer here. This would, again, allow for first responders. It would allow for homeless advocates, for those who are encountering those who live on the streets, to be able to not only contact them to make conversation, but then to take that information that they glean from them and try to find them an appropriate shelter. Because as we know, not every single person fits with every single shelter. Now, of course, a lot of this is going to rely on whether or not there will be shelter beds available. That has been one of the biggest issues that has been plaguing not only the city of San Diego, but the entire county of San Diego. Will there be simply enough shelter beds? In fact, at last count, according to the San Diego County Homeless Task Force, there are more than 4,000 people who are unsheltered in all corners of the county. So with this will be, again, a county-wide shelter bed mobile network app. Eventually, there will be kiosks around. It's estimated to cost somewhere around $300,000, but there's an app that works sort of like this already in use. In fact, it was introduced during the pandemic. It's an app that goes ahead and tries to do the same thing for domestic violence and human trafficking victims. It's called the Safe Shelter Collaborative, and it was started by DA Summer Stephan, who will be presenting this later on today, this extension of this app for those who are unsheltered. Now, last fall, dozens of stakeholders brought their ideas to the table, including the Lucky Duck Foundation, as well as businesses, as well as those who live in the community, again, trying to come up with solutions like this one, which all go into the plan of trying to address homelessness in San Diego County.
Instead of picking up the phone and calling 20 different shelters until you find a bed, someone in our group described it as pulling into a parking structure. You need to know exactly how many parking spots are available. That currently doesn't exist with the shelter system, which is arguably our region's #1 crisis.
And we also spoke with a pretty well-known advocate for the homeless here in San Diego, and he told us that he's not opposed to this idea. But again, it doesn't solve, as he says, the biggest issue, which is the lack of shelter beds. You can read more about this proposed plan by going to our website, cbs8.com, and clicking on that story link. Netta?
All right, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that app, if it can connect people with the beds and the services they need. Thank you, Chris, for that. This morning, at least 16,000 Californians, they're under evacuation warnings as yet another severe storm system moves right into our state. It's raining on parts of the state right now. Many of those warnings centered around already storm-swollen rivers in northern and central parts of California. You can see what happens there. These rivers get so full, they take over some of the streets in many neighborhoods. So let's check in with Evan and see where the rain is right now. Evan, what's going on with this storm?
It's really interesting. Across the state of California, every coastal city is under a flood watch, and that is the entirety of the state, with the exception of San Diego. San Diego is the only county in the state where along the coast we don't have a flood watch, flood warning of any sorts. This could be because we're going to be the last to see the storm. It also could be because the storm is weakening as it heads in our direction, but we still are nonetheless forecasting upwards of an inch, and in many cases closer to 2 inches of rain coming down, with the bulk of it coming from late tonight throughout your Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. It's going to be that overnight time frame where the bulk of this rain comes. Temperatures are still going to be in the 60s this afternoon. PM showers are the case, so AM hours we are dry out there. You can still get outside, get a walk or run in. It is past noon that we start to see a couple light showers. This is kind of the leading edge of the storm. The bulk of it, though, moving south of San Francisco. That's the yellow and orange on the screen. That's going to be in San Diego by late tonight. And then this is what we're talking about. All that green from San Francisco all the way down through LA, the green along the coast, and then for us in San Diego, nothing. No watches, warnings, or advisories related to not only the rain, but also nothing related to the wind, because it is going to be a very breezy stretch as well, especially across the mountains and deserts from late tonight into tomorrow. Something to keep a close eye on. Now, When we talk about our rain chances, they of course climb dramatically into tomorrow. That's a 99% chance of rain, especially with those models pushing us towards 2 inches. It looks like that drops notably for Thursday. So this storm will exit throughout the day on Wednesday. By late Wednesday night into early Thursday, we are back to a pretty minimal chance of wet weather. There's the possibility of maybe a few very light sprinkles, maybe a misting, similar to what we saw yesterday, where you may need to use the windshield wipers once or twice just to clear that mist off of your windshield, but it's nothing too tremendous. And then we'll see a more notable climb in our probability of precipitation after Monday. That's going to be closer to Tuesday, Wednesday or so. Let's take a look at your temperatures. Walking out the door right now are mostly in the 50s. 50 right now for Poway, 52 for Encinitas, and 54 for Oceanside. Switching gears to traffic. So far, we've been pretty light this morning. We do see some traffic mid-span on the Coronado Bridge headed toward Coronado. That just turned to stop and go traffic, so keep that in mind moving forward, but it's very typical for this time of the morning. Beyond that, we have seen that crash up in the Oceanside area cleared, so that number 4 lane back open on the 5. Back to you.